morning. Welcome to One Baha'i, that regular show where, I just sit back and share a little bit of thoughts about the Baha'i faith. It's nothing official, just me. One individual, one Baha'i. So today, I want to look at Prayers and Meditations number 10. Now, you'll notice that my eyes are kind of reading the screen because, my stand isn't working today, and I kind of need to read this. I don't have it memorized, so let's just go into it. One of my favorite things to do is just kind of pick a random piece from the writings and begin exploring it. So today, Prayers and Meditations, Baha'u'llah, number 10. O thou whose face is the object of the adoration of all that yearn after thee, whose presence is the hope of such as are wholly devoted to thy will, whose nearness is the desire of all that have drawn nigh unto thy court, whose countenance is the companion of those who have recognized thy truth, whose name is the mover of the souls that long to behold thy face, whose voice is the true life of thy lovers, the words of whose mouth are as the waters of life unto all who are in heaven and on earth. I beseech thee, by the wrong thou hast suffered and the ills inflicted upon thee by the hosts of wrongful doers, to send down upon me from the clouds of thy mercy that which will purify me of all that is not of thee, that I may be worthy to praise thee and fit to love thee. Withhold not from me, O my Lord, the things thou didst ordain for thy handmaidens as circle around thee, and on whom are poured continually the splendors of the sun of thy beauty and the beams of the brightness of thy face. Thou art he who from everlasting hath succored whosoever hath sought thee, and bountifully favored him who hath asked thee. No God is there beside thee, the mighty, the ever-abiding, the all-bounteous, the most generous. While there's many ways to study and analyze anything, one of my favorites is to look at the various parts of a piece in order. Now, here in that first sentence, I notice that it reads like multiple variations of the formula, U whose A is the B of C. And so I want to look at each of these three variables in order. Now, it helps if you have a copy near you so that you can more easily follow along, unless you have an incredible memory, and then, just do what you want. So, the first set of variables, A, as I loosely refer to them, are, the face, presence, nearness, countenance, name, voice, and words of his mouth. The members of the second set, B, are the object of adoration, hope, desire, companion, mover, true life, and the waters of life. I kind of presume this just makes sense as you follow along. Those final elements, C, mentioned in that first sentence, are those that yearn after thee, those who are wholly devoted to thy will, those who have drawn nigh unto thy court, those who have recognized thy truth, the souls that long to behold thee, thy lovers, and all who are in heaven and on earth. Okay. Like I've said, this is not definitive, it's not authoritative, it's not even necessarily useful to anyone besides myself, but I do find it useful, so that's the spirit in which I share it. On to that first group. What are they? Why are they in that order? I don't really know, and I'm sure there's many historical aspects of this that I'm missing. It may not even be helpful to you, but, take it or leave it as you will. So, this section begins with the face. I'd initially think of this as the face of God, but it makes more sense to me as the face of the messenger of God. If I think of it as the face of God, then that kind of limits it to Moses being he who saw God, and it becomes an unapproachable goal. But if I think of it instead as the face of the promised one, then I realize that this goal is set out by all the faiths. No matter what our path, it's the goal towards which we all can strive and hope. So, as we begin to walk this path of search, we soon realize that it's not actually the face that we want to attain. It's really his presence. I wonder, how many were the people who actually had the bounty of seeing Baha'u'llah's face, but had no clue as to who he really was? How many people were in the marketplace who saw him pass by? No. What we really want, I think, is to be able to attain his presence with the knowledge that he is the promised one. Okay, so once we've taken that step, when we've reached the shores of the ocean of certitude, then we realize just how distant we actually are from him. No matter how virtuous we may think we have lived, no matter how vast we may believe our own knowledge to be, when we explore his writings, we realize how far we have to go. Perfection is too lofty a goal for us to ever really come near to it, although it is what we strive for. It's like that knowledge of God. We can never really know God, but we can get to know him better through, prayer and meditation. Okay. Once we've come to this simple realization, an understanding of which requires true humility, which I kind of hope to attain at some point, then we can better focus on that which is unattainable. His countenance. That which is attainable. His countenance. Now, the countenance, I find this interesting. It's a bit more specific than just the face, which is only a reference to that particular part of the body found at the front of the head. The countenance specifically refers to the aspect of the face that conveys character and mood. Think about that spiritual perception that would be required to see past the mere physical aspect of the face and get a glimpse into the actual mood of a manifestation of God. Begins to boggle my mind. Okay, to go a bit further, countenance also has a subtle connotation linguistically of calm serenity. As we come to truly look upon a manifestation, not that I have, I can only imagine that we would begin to sense that tremendous serenity of spirit that they have. Their perception of the world, with their proper sense of history and place, would obviously give them a calmness that nothing could disturb. I feel like as we learn from this and begin to see how trivial the trials and tribulations that we face actually are, then we too begin to partake of this serenity. When I compare my own life, my own troubles with Baha'u'llah's, I begin to become more serene because I get the sense that my troubles are minuscule in comparison. So by beholding that countenance, I think we can learn something tremendous. But you see, the next step in the prayer is the name. Normally, when I think of a name, I think of something minor and insignificant, but in reality, names have a power. So much is said in history and mythology and fantasy literature about their importance. In fact, it's been said that Ruhiya Khanum never called anyone by anything other than their full name. She never called a David a Dave. I don't know, to me, it's a reminder that the name Baha'u'llah is something very important for us to remember. It tells us quite clearly that he is the glory of God, nothing less. When we take time to look past that serene countenance, kind of like looking through a window, we might be able to catch a glimpse of that incredible glory that lies behind it. Once we see that power and majesty, that real glory, then we can truly hear the voice speaking to us. Not just the vibrations of breath that we normally think of as voice. I don't think it's a simple and ordinary voice. I don't think it's merely the murmur of syllables and sounds. To me, it's the voice that conveys the voice of God. As we search the writings, we often find references that tell us to hearken to his voice, that we may hear that divine voice that is speaking. You know, to me, I don't know, it's this very concept that I find leads me to that last phrase in its entirety. The words of whose mouth are as the waters of life unto all who are in heaven and on earth. It's the spirit of these words, the essence of spirit, which they are trying to convey to us. Those are the true waters of life for all of us. Without this guidance, accepted internally in our very character and externally by the structures of society, without that, I think we will accomplish nothing except, well, maybe our own destruction. I find just looking at those few words, looking at the path that Baha'u'llah is conveying to us, I don't know, I get the sense that there's something astonishingly profound in all of it. But you know, we're already at 12 minutes. Maybe I should just pause here. Yeah, maybe next week I'll take a look at the next part of this prayer. It really is quite astonishing. I find going through in order, just the phrases, I feel like it's such an incredible path that Baha'u'llah is leading us on. Anyways, thank you for joining. I hope this was a little bit useful. Feel free to hit like, subscribe, you know the routine. Anyways, we'll talk next week.